If you walked past Elijah Wood, would you recognise him? How about Billy Piper or John Boyega?
Hey New Zealand, I hope all is well. It's John Boyega. I'm going to be coming down for Armageddon Con on October 25th to the 26th.
Famous faces like theirs draw attention, but some of the most prolific actors of our age are people you could walk right past without ever suspecting. And this Labour weekend, the Armageddon Expo in Auckland is hosting voice acting royalty.
I just want to say, Armageddon, Auckland, it's spring. It's awesome. I can't wait to see you. Catch you there.
Can't wait to see you either, Ash. You won't recognise Ash, the 10-year-old boy hero from Pokemon. For a start, she's a woman. I'm Connor McClay, and today on The Detail, I talk to some of the unseen actors behind hundreds of characters. David Sobolov, Nolan North, and Veronica Taylor.
So I'm an actor. I'm from the United States. I started my career in theater and TV and ended up mostly doing voice-related work. I think most people know me as Ash Ketchum from the first 8 seasons of Pokemon.
Maybe you think I'm a little too brash, but the master is here, and my name is Ash. Gotcha.
Along with his mom and May and a bunch of other characters. And I've been lucky enough to do voices for cartoons that were a big part of Saturday morning. And I do a lot of audiobooks, video games, all kinds of things.
I am David Sobolov. I'm a voice actor. I've been doing this for 32 years. I've played many roles on many different medium. I've been in anime, to One Piece, the role of Kaido. I was in the Flash television series as Gorilla Grodd.
You will not escape. Grodd will complete his mission.
Done many, many Transformers projects. It's been a great resume because of the many years I've been doing it. I've been lucky, very lucky.
Nolan North, why don't you start by telling me a bit about yourself? Who are you and what do you do?
Well, I am an actor. I've been doing it for about 30 years. For most of the people going to the Comic-Con, I would guess they know me as Nathan Drake from the Uncharted series.
I'm telling you, that treasure is as good as ours.
Dr. Richtofen from the Call of Duty series, which is very big right now because Call of Duty 7 will be dropping in November. The Penguin from Batman and Deadpool and a whole host of others, including some animation and on-camera things. I'm a jack of all trades, master of nothing.
A prolific voice actor like Nolan North can have hundreds of credits, covering a vast range of roles over their career. But everyone gets started somewhere. So, how do voice actors find their place in this industry?
It's different for everyone. For me, I was doing a play in Vancouver, Canada. An agent saw me and said, come do villains. I never thought of doing voice acting.
So you started with villains?
It found me, yes. Well, that's mostly what I do anyway. The voice kind of types me, you know?
I started acting when I was 5, but the majority of kind of cartoon-related things probably since 1995. We started Pokemon in 1998. Anime in the 90s and early aughts was a little more difficult to come upon than it is now.
Even back then, though, like you mentioned, anime was a bit more niche. It hadn't quite gone as mainstream as it is today.
Yeah.
How did you get from theatre to that? How did the scene find you? How did you find the scene?
Well, actually, so I finished grad school. I went to college and grad school for acting. I finished grad school and I moved to New York. And I was working on the Batman stunt show at Six Flags Great Adventure, which is an amusement park. I was in the stunt show and I also did the voiceover for it. So that was my first kind of professional voiceover that many, many people heard. And that voiceover was used in all of the parks. And then we all had to actually like lip sync along to the track while we were doing all the stunts. So that, and then I was auditioning for something, probably a play, and I was seeing an acting coach for that. And when I finished that session, later that day, he gave me a call and said, I just got a call from someone else that I coach looking for women who can do high girl voices for an anime. Here's where the audition is happening if you want to go. So I kind of got into anime on just someone recommending me, really.
I was doing theater and stand-up comedy in New York, and then when I moved to LA, it's just voiceover wasn't really something I was interested in. And then a friend of mine just one day suggested, hey, you're always cutting us up with your voices. You should talk to my voiceover agent. And again, I wasn't really keen on it, but we had just had our second baby, and the show was off the air. My full-time on-camera show was off the air. And I thought, okay, maybe I should have a bit of more of an open mind. And it just kind of went from there.
You must pretend that you're on camera. When you're doing voice acting, it's all in your mind. So you're seeing the people around you, the settings, especially the eyes of the person you're talking to. You have to think of why you got into the scene. It's the same as on camera, but a lot of those elements are provided for you in the physical world there. And in our world, it's all imagination.
So if someone were to watch you in the studio while you're voice acting, it'd be just like you're acting on the spot, essentially.
A lot of times that's the case, especially in video games. You don't have any rehearsal. They just hand you the script. And somehow you have to be brilliant with no rehearsal. And you learn after a while to do it, but it takes a while.
How do you prepare for something like that?
You just understand the character as best as you can, and you have to stay open. And the biggest thing for me is staying in the moment. I'm not worried about what the character did in the past so much. I'm not thinking about details. I'm just jumping in and looking at the emotions in the scene and the relationships and and the director's there to guide me, of course. It doesn't have to be in one take, but often it's pretty close to one take because they want to get things done. The plus is you don't have to get into any sort of wardrobe. It doesn't matter what I look like. I could be 90 years old and I can shuffle to my booth in my apartment and still do voice acting.
So the job has its pros. But as Veronica can attest, there's a lot more to juggle when dubbing over footage in another language. You've done mostly anime work by the looks of it. Are there any challenges unique to doing English dubs of a foreign language production that maybe would surprise someone who only does direct English?
Well, it definitely matters that once the script is translated, that you have a good adapter, because a good adapter will really look at what the humor is and try to tailor that to an American or English-speaking audience. And then they also will kind of work with those weird gaps that you have. Sometimes with it done, let's say for just Japanese, that the mouth can move quickly and then have a strange opening and then move quickly again. And you have to make that make sense. One of the great things is, so normally we have no rehearsal. We don't really watch the scene ahead of time. You just get the script, you watch the monitor, you hear 3 beeps in your headphones, and where the 4th would be is where you start talking. So you're skimming through your lines as you're watching your lip flap and trying to guess what the face is going to look like to see if it matches what you have guessed is your objective for this line. And so you're doing a lot at the same time. So I think that's the hardest part, and perhaps many people don't know that. They don't know how much your cold reading skills play into this, how much you're skimming to figure out what the other character is saying and how you're reacting to that, even though you don't hear the actor. All of that. You're playing the scene in your mind, in your eyes, and then finally speaking it.
And if dubbing something from another language into English is hard, how about adding voice lines to action you can't even see? In a video game, you can't always predict what the player is doing. So how do the professionals cope with recording a performance for an invisible someone in a role that isn't just a linear story and has to cover every possibility?
You have to be extremely fluid because they're throwing what are called wild lines at you. You might have hundreds and hundreds of them. And there's usually a little bit of a direction before they tell you what to do, or the director will tell you what the context is. And you just jump into that new situation. And it could be line by line. You might be in a completely different situation and you just have to boom, be in it and do it. And I think that's something you can't learn. You can't teach that. If you're able to do it or not. And that's what I think makes voice acting something that isn't being done by everyone. It's not as easy as it looks.
It must get tiring after having to repeat the same thing over and over in a different voice.
Well, I don't mind that. It isn't a different voice. Remember, when I repeat the over and over and over again, it might be the same character. I did EverQuest, I think it was called, many years ago, and I played 23 different characters in that, and that was mainly age changes and accent changes.
It really depends on how many lines your character has. And so if you're fortunate to have a lot, then you do get to expand within that, for what the player plays. But all the lines are, for a lot of times, they're all just listed out. And sometimes you can see kind of the scene they play in. So that depends too on the game. All of it, you have to visualize it totally in your mind, because you may see a picture of the character, but you get no other idea of what the scene looks like or who's in the scene with you. A lot of it is in your head.
Well, that is really the responsibility of the writers. They do an amazing job. I cannot tell you how difficult it must be for them to write those kind of lines. But a good director, they give you the context of what the scene is. So there's lines where you've succeeded in the mission and you say this, and this is where you've been beaten, and this is where it's a draw. I mean, if we're doing 500 lines, we'll probably say them closer to, 1,000 to 1,500 times, because, you might give them an ABC choice, and I don't like to say things the exact same way. If it's like, get down, it's like, get down. It might be also be get down. They can play with that. You give them different inflections. Is he saying get down because he's terrified, or is he saying get down in a heroic way?
I suppose they'd need most of it over a long gameplay session because they can hear the same voice line over and over. Like get down is something that a soldier might say like 100 times over the course of a Call of Duty game.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's where great writing comes in, because they'll have a number of things, and you kind of rip through those. And the danger is you start to get monotone, where you got to take a breath and then just hit the next ones. You do 5 in a row and then, and then just give it a break and then, try to reset your brain. But I don't know if it's the fact that I've done it for so long that it's become sort of second nature. I think a lot of developers, they save a lot of time with me because I kind of get it. I kind of get, okay, I know what this is, where he's been hurt and he's been revived and he's up and ready to go again, or whatever. There is some knowledge that has come just through the sheer number of lines I've done over my career.
Perhaps that's why these voice actors who find success can become extremely prolific, with all 3 of my guests having a very long list of past roles to their names. So does that relate to job security? Especially when, like David Sobolov, you are hooked into big franchises like DC and Marvel, recurring characters in Transformers, and legacy stars such as Drax the Destroyer and Lobo.
So with Transformers, none of the projects had anything to do with the other in terms of casting. When I was doing Rise of the Beasts, the characters I did in there, it has a basis in the maximal world of Transformers. And I was in Beast Wars 30 years ago. I was Depth Charge, but they didn't know and they didn't care. I was the only one connected with the original series that was in that movie, and I was just cast to be in that movie. That's all. And the same with Bumblebee, and all the other things I've done. It's been extraordinary. Just really a coincidence that I've been cast in all this.
So they find you a bit more interchangeable? Because looking down your IMDb, you'll notice that, you voiced Drax in not just one property, but in lots of different series. So obviously someone has your name on a whiteboard next to Drax, right?
Well, that was the case for the time, because then they were developing the characters of the franchise. Guardians of the Galaxy movie had not come out. I was cast before Dave Bautista.
What took you so long? We can send the entire fleet into chaos.
And we were doing different guest roles on different shows just to test the characters out. And I was very, very fortunate. I was the only one that went all the way through. They recast all of them except for me, and I got to keep my role in the series. I was lucky.
With Nolan North, it's clear he's on a lot of studio shortlists.
Yes, I believe so. And, that is just a product of hanging around for so long. It's a great thing to be. Some people say, well, does he mind? It tells my agents now, would he mind auditioning? And I'm like, I never mind auditioning. That's, again, I enjoy it. And, I don't take that as an insult at all. It's like, as long as you're considering me for, your job, you're the ones paying. You can do it any way you want. So I think that's the other great thing about most actors in the voiceover world. There's not a lot of ego, and I don't have that in my on-camera career. I don't think that there's no time for that.
Oh, are you serious? How could I forget my phone?
Whoa, April, it's okay. It's me, Leo.
I suppose when doing legacy characters like Ash Ketchum in Pokemon or, say, April O'Neil in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, I mean, these are characters that are going to appear across multiple different media. They're going to appear in a whole lot of different things. Do you just become the person that new series and games will always come to first for that character?
No, actually. I mean, we often get replaced for so many things. Even I was in Slayers, and that was 1995, 98. At one point, it left New York and was taken over by someone else, maybe in Texas. I didn't quite follow it, but other people took our parts. They didn't contact us. And then we reprised our roles later in the 2000s, early 2000s, luckily because they sent it back to a studio that we all worked with. So for that, I don't know that they cared to keep us, but luckily we got our jobs back. With Pokemon, we were all replaced after the 8th season when Pokemon USA took the show, and they just simply said, we've already found replacements, we don't need you anymore. So that was their own thing. Who knows why? But so for that, they didn't want us. Other shows I've been involved with, oh my gosh, One Piece, Winx Club, those have gone on somewhere else. And even though you can find all of us, they've chosen other people to carry on the roles. So I don't know that. I feel lucky when someone decides to, I can't say recast, but continue to use me in the roles that I started.
Corporate interference, that old demon.
Sometimes I think. I mean, I don't know. I can't imagine that it's that they're saving money by doing that. You've already got people who know the characters and can bring a lot to it. So who knows?
We've tossed around a few names already. And looking through your just IMDb and Wikipedia page, you can see a lot of names like Ash Ketchum in Pokemon, obviously, several Yu-Gi-Oh! Characters, young Griffith from Berserk, many others. A lot of young male characters. Is it common for a female VA to get that kind of work?
I think so. I mean, boys' voices do change, and sometimes it's more difficult for men to do younger voices. And so I think for consistency, often women are cast. When I was cast as Ash Ketchum, there were not that many women doing boys' voices. I mean, you do have Spritle from Speed Racer. You had Rocky in Rocky and Bullwinkle. Those voices were women. And then, of course, you have in the Simpsons.
They're my friends, rightfully. She only got them by copying me.
And Jimmy Neutron and,
Dexter's Lab.
Wait a minute. I got a funny feeling I have forgotten something.
Yeah, Dexter and also Fairly Odd Parent. You know what it is.
Yeah.
Fairly Odd Parents. Yeah. Timmy Turner.
Where are we? This place looks like a unicorn ate a rainbow and threw it up.
And those women are amazing actresses. And the fact that all of us got to play these energetic boys, which many times girls' roles aren't that fun. They just don't get the breadth of experience that the boy characters get to go through. So it is pretty great. I don't question why they want me to play a boy. I just say yes and go for it.
Is it changing a bit in modern day? Getting a bit more. I mean, the badass female character is becoming more accepted. Do you get more work like that than you used to?
Yeah, I think there are a bit more like powerful women, powerful girl characters. Yeah. I still think they don't get to have as much fun as the boys do, but perhaps that's changing.
Yeah, fingers crossed.
We just have to write them. Yeah, exactly.
I asked the actors how much authority they get in interpreting the characters, starting with David Sobolov.
If it was strictly regimented, it wouldn't really be good. There has to be a human element to it. And it's a collaboration in many cases, in most cases, really. And even One Piece when I was doing Kaido.
But even with your strength combined, you're still no Odin.
One Piece, we were really just having a playtime. It was just fun. We were just sitting there riffing, and sometimes the script didn't really match, and we'd rewrite the script, and I'd try out some improvised moments at times. So that was pretty much, we wanted to be on the script to make the lips match, of course, the lip flaps.
You audition usually from home with maybe sending 3 or 2 choices in of what you've kind of, based on the description that they have sent you, what you think the character would be like. If you're auditioning in front of a casting director or the director, you can come out with your first try, and then they can say, oh, could you make it a little older? Could you put more gruff boyness in? Could you make them a little more timid? You can play around with that at the audition a bit more. And then when you do get cast, you can discuss the character a little bit, but oftentimes it's what you auditioned with, they are kind of going with.
No, I think that's what the audition process is all about, just finding the character. One of my favorite things is when producers of a project will send artwork. I remember with Rocksteady sending me the Oswald Cobblepot pictures and animation of like what he was going to look like. And he had a cigar, and he had his monocle is actually a bottle that's been jammed in his face that he never bothered to take out. And he's all, just looked really uncomfortable, finding it, and I know they wanted kind of the Cockney, American Cockney kind of accent. So it was pretty easy to try to find that character.
Ain't this a right rogues gallery?
I do lots of Rick and Morty, which I won't know what the characters I'm doing until we actually get on the microphone like this, and I'm talking to them, and they'll just say, okay, so the first guy, he's an alien, and he's kind of nebbish, and so they kind of describe him, and I'll start doing different voices, and like this. He goes, yeah, let's go with that one.
Here's the hidden secret of voice acting. It's not about the voices. It's about acting the role. So if you can remember the emotional state of the character, some physicality things you might have been doing, even vocally, which, of course, there is a voice. There are people that just do the funny, crazy voices, but the really good actors have a story underneath. You're doing what I learned from Sanford Meisner many years ago. You're living truthfully under given imaginary circumstances. And if you do that, it all works out. And they play the reference, and you can usually just jump right back in.
Well, part of it, I do keep notes when I'm doing audiobooks, and then I can listen to a reference when I'm going in to do a video game or a cartoon or anime that I haven't done in a while. I can hear a reference, but mostly it comes down to, for me, visualizing the character fully. So, I mean, Ash Ketchum, I can see him, I know how he moves, and, that voice, it just kind of comes out. But other ones, I would say I like to listen to something first so that I make sure I'm in the same pocket. Because one character could be here and the other one could be here. They're similar, but they have a different body behind them.
Less like putting on a voice and more like just acting, but your face isn't being captured.
Exactly. And you do use your whole body, but you just can't move because your clothes make noise and the microphone picks that up. So, but it is a full body activity, even though it's only just coming out your mouth.
If you want to see how this behind-the-scenes world works for yourself, there's finally a chance to.
I went to Armageddon in 2018, so I have been before. And I wonder, I sat on the last day of that trip looking up at the sky, which is, of course, a very different sky at night than we have in North America, wondering if I'd ever be back. I'm really glad that I got a chance to.
I'm so psyched. It's going to be a great 4-day event.
The Armageddon Exposition.
Armageddon. It's going to be really, really incredible. I first went to Armageddon in 2002 in Auckland, and then I've been back in all over both islands since. But to come back for this 30th anniversary of Armageddon, I'm just totally psyched.
The best place to find me is the Armageddon Expo. My first visit, my first time. I hope everybody comes out, says hello. It should be a really, really good time.
That's all for this week. The Detail is a newsroom production supported by RNZ and New Zealand On Air. Today's episode was engineered by Phil Benge and produced by Alexia Russell and Gwen McClure. Huge thanks to David Sobolov, Veronica Taylor, and Nolan North. I'm Connor McClay. Ka kite anō.